Okay, welcome to your reading for today, guys. Today you're reading chapter 17 and 18, and these are the last two chapters of the book, unfortunately, but we've got another exciting book that we're going on to tomorrow. Okay, take your time with this, and as always, pause, try and read it yourself, and then we will read it together. Chapter 17, The Great Feast. Back in the tunnel, they paused so that Mr. Fox could brick up the hole in the wall. He was humming to himself as he put the bricks in place. "I can still taste that glorious cider," he said. "What an impudent fellow Rat is." "He has bad manners," Badger said. "All rats have bad manners. I've never met a polite rat yet." "And he drinks too much," said Mr. Fox, putting the last brick in place. "There we are. Now, home to the feast." They grabbed their jars of cider and off they went. Mr. Fox was in front, the smallest fox came next, and Badger last. Along the tunnel they flew, past the turning that led to Bunce's mighty storehouse, past Boggis's chicken house number 1, and then up the long home stretch towards the place where they knew Mrs. Fox would be waiting. "Keep it up, my darlings," shouted Mr. Fox. "We'll soon be there. Think what's waiting for us at the other end. Just think what we're bringing home with us in these jars. That ought to cheer up poor Mrs. Fox." Mr. Fox sang a little song as he ran. "Home again swiftly I glide, back to my beautiful bride. She'll not feel so rotten as soon as she's gotten some cider inside her inside." Then Badger joined in. "Oh, poor Mrs. Badger," he cried. "So hungry she very died. But she'll not feel so hollow if only she'll swallow some cider inside her inside." They were still singing as they rounded the final corner and burst in upon the most wonderful and amazing sight any of them had ever seen. The feast was just beginning. A large dining room had been hollowed out of the earth, and in the middle of it, seated around the huge table, were no less than 29 animals. There were Mrs. Fox and 3 small foxes, Mrs. Badger and 3 small badgers, Mole and Mrs. Mole and 4 small moles, Rabbit and Mrs. Rabbit and 5 small rabbits, Weasel and Mrs. Weasel and 6 small weasels. The table was covered with chickens and ducks and geese and hams and bacon, and everyone was tucking into the lovely food. "My darling," cried Mrs. Fox, jumping up and hugging Mr. Fox. "We couldn't wait. Please forgive us." Then she hugged the smallest fox of all, and Mrs. Badger hugged Badger, and everyone hugged everyone else. Amid shouts of joy, the great jars of cider were placed upon the table, and Mr. Fox and Badger and the smallest fox sat down with the others. You must remember no one had eaten a thing for several days. They were ravenous. So for a while there was no conversation at all. There was only the sound of the crunching and chewing as the animals attacked the succulent food. At last Badger stood up. He raised his glass of cider and called out, "A toast! I want you all to stand and drink a toast to our dear friend who has saved our lives this day, Mr. Fox." "To Mr. Fox!" they all shouted, standing up and raising their glasses. "To Mr. Fox! Long may he live!" Then Mrs. Fox got shyly to her feet and said, "I don't want to make a speech. I just want to say one thing, and it is this. My husband is a fantastic fox." Everyone clapped and cheered. Then Mr. Fox himself stood up. "This delicious meal," he began. Then he stopped. In the silence that followed, he let fly a tremendous belch. There was laughter and more clapping. "This delicious meal, my friends," he went on, "is by courtesy of Messrs. Boggis, Bunce and Bean." More cheering and laughter. "And I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have." He let fly another colossal belch. "Better out than in," said Badger. "Thank you," said Mr. Fox, grinning hugely. "But now, my friends, let us be serious. Let us think of tomorrow and the next day and the days after that. If we go out, we will be killed, right?" "Right," they shouted. "We'll all be shot before we've gone a yard," said Badger. "Exactly," said Mr. Fox. "But who wants to go out anyway? Let me ask you that. We are all diggers, every one of us. We hate the outside. The outside is full of enemies. We only go out because we have to get food for our families. But now, my friends, we have an entirely new setup. We have a safe tunnel leading to 3 of the finest stores in the world. We do indeed, said Badger. I've seen 'em. And you know what that means? You know what this means, said Mr. Fox. It means that none of us need ever go out into the open again. There was a buzz of excitement around the table. I therefore invite you all, Mr. Fox went on, to stay here with me forever. Forever, they cried. My goodness, how marvellous! And Rabbit said to Mrs. Rabbit, my dear, just think, we're never going to be shot at again in our lives. We will make, said Mr. Fox, a little underground village with streets and houses on each side, separate houses for badgers and moles and rabbits and weasels and foxes, and every day I will go shopping for you all. And every day we will eat like kings. The cheering that followed this speech went on for many minutes. Chapter 18. Still waiting. Outside the fox's hole, Boggis and Bunce and Bean sat beside their tents with their guns on their laps. It was beginning to rain. Water was trickling down the necks of the 3 men and into their shoes. He won't stay down there much longer now, Boggis said. The brute must be famished, said. That's right, Bean said. He'll be making a dash for it any moment. Keep your guns handy. They sat there by the hole, waiting for the fox to come out. And so far as I know, they are still waiting. And that, guys, is the end of our book. Okay? Your last 5 quickfire questions on Fantastic Mr. Fox. So, question 1, why do you think Mr. Fox bricked up the hole in the wall? Okay, there is your sentence stem. Can you find 3 sets of rhyming words from the song Fox and Badger Sing on page 73 and page 74? So for that, you just write in 3 lists. How many children did Mr. and Mrs. Weasel have? You'll find that information on page 75. Why was there a time where no conversation during the feast? And question 5, what did Mr. Fox plan to make for the animals underground? Pause the video while you have a go at those, remembering to answer in full sentences, please. Okay, fabulous, well done. So the answers. Mr. Fox bricked up the hole in the wall so that no one knew they had been into the cider cellar. Okay, the 3 sets of rhyming words from the song, well, you've got 4 there, but 3. You've got glide, bride, inside, and rotten and forgotten from the first verse. Then you've got cried, died, inside. So you could have put that as one list, glide, bride, cried, died, and inside. So linking those 2 up. Okay, and then you've got swallow and hollow. Mr. and Mrs. Weasel had 6 small children. There was no conversation at the feast because all of the animals were too busy eating to talk because they had been so hungry. And Mr. Fox planned to make a little underground village with streets and houses on each side. Oh. It's called Still Waiting, but they are the last 2 words of the book. And so far as I know, they are still waiting. Okay, so it matches. I like that about it. I also like that we know what's happening underground, but the baddies in the story, so the nasty farmers, are still waiting. Okay. I think it's a good title, and I think he chose that title because they could still be waiting now, for all we know. Okay. And question 8. Now you've read the whole book, what was your favourite part of the story and why? That is completely up to you. There are many parts of the story. You can write us a little paragraph about which was your favourite part of the story. I particularly like this part because make sure that you've given some reasons for this. Okay. Now, your challenge, an additional challenge. Over here, I found this on the internet. Somebody had made a story map of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Okay. It's quite a good story map. but I challenge you to make a better one. Okay. I think you guys, it's got writing up here, but it's pictures. Okay. I want you to make a story map with pictures and with writing and arrows to show what happens and to tell the story of Fantastic Mr. Fox, not in lots of detailed words, okay, but in short phrases, labels, captions, and some lovely pictures. Okay, can you email those over to us, please? And we will be able to put them on our next videos and we'll be able to do shout outs. Okay, thanks, guys.
Hi guys, I hope you found yesterday's maths learning okay. I'm going to go through the answers with you now for your do it and your secure it. So, for your do it, you were asked to find the missing numbers, and there are how many days in a fortnight? I reminded you that a fortnight was the same as 2 weeks, so you had to do 2 times 7. So hopefully we all got 14. Okay, then I wanted to work out how many days there are in 3 weeks and 6 days. So you needed to do 3 times 7 because it's 3 weeks, 7 days in a week, which is 21. And then 21 add 6 for those extra 6 days. And hopefully you've all got that the answer was 27. And then finally we needed to work out how many months were in 3 years. Now we know there's 12 months in 1 year, but we're looking for 3. So we needed to do 12 times 3, which is of course 36. So then we went on to looking at the longest duration. So we got 3 weeks and 4 days, 2 months and 23 days. So what I would have suggested you do is convert them all into either months, days or weeks. So we're going to do days just for ease. So we know that 3 weeks is 21 days because we worked it out before. And then we need to add on those 4. So that is 25 days. So that now we know is longer than the bottom one. And then we've got 2 months. Now we know that even in the month with the least amount of days, there are 28 days, and that's February. But we're looking at 2 months here, so that's 100% is going to be longer than 25 days. So your answer to that one was 2 months. Okay, and then we were looking at the shortest duration. So 365 days. Hopefully we remembered that that was the same as a year. And we know that there are 12 months in a year. So 11 months is going to be less than 1 year. 1 year, 2 weeks is the most. So our answer for this one was 11 months. Hopefully we all got those. If for any reason we didn't or we're a bit confused, please send me an email so I can go through it with you guys. Okay, so for those of you that then went on to do the extra do it challenge, I'll just go through the answer with you. So Sally is 7 years and 2 months old and Macy is 85 months old. Who is the oldest? Explain your answer. So I would have suggested that you did 7 times 12, which is 84 months. 84 add 2 is 86 months. So therefore Sally is the oldest by 1 month. And then finally you'll secure it. There are 4 weeks and 3 days in June, or there are 4 weeks and 2 days in June. So if you did the magic finger trick, you would know that there are 30 days in June, and there are 7 days in a week. So 7 times 4 is 28, equals 28. And then to get to 30, we need to add on 2. So Darnell is correct. Okay, so today we are going to recap a little bit what you did last year so that we can understand how to tell the time to the nearest 5 minutes. So on the clock here, there are 2 hands, the blue hand and the red hand. Have a think, do you know what each of those hands are called? Okay, so the red hand is the minute hand and the blue hand is the hour hand. Okay, I want to look at that minute hand first. So if the minute hand is anywhere on the clock past the 12 up to the 6, I'm sorry, I'll do it in red so we don't get confused. That there is going past the hour. So I'm going to write this here so we get that. Okay, and if it's past the 6, so anywhere from here up to the 12, just before the 12, it's 2. And if it's on the 12, hopefully everyone knows this, it's o'clock. Okay? So if it's between the 12 and the 6, it's past the hour. And if it's between the 6 and the 12, it's to the hour. Okay. Okay, so we've got our past the hour, to the hour, and our o'clock. Now, we talked the other day about the fact there are 60 minutes in an hour. Okay, so one turn of the minute hand around the clock is an hour. So we can count up in 5. So each number around here represents 5 minutes. So we've got 5 from the 1, sorry, let's just do this 1. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, or we call it o'clock. Now, at the 6, that's 30 minutes past the hour. And if you remember from the other day, we also can call that half past. Okay? So if the minute hand is on the 6, it is half past the hour. Now, I know our minute hand's red, but I just want to clear up that it's not always red, it's the longer hand. So the minute hand is the longer hand and the hour hand is the shorter hand, all right? So the 3 was 15 minutes. And again, we talked about this the other day, a quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So we call that quarter past. And opposite the 3 on the 9, we call that quarter to. Okay, now other than quarter to, quarter past and half past, the rest is really simple. It literally goes 5 past, 10 past, then we've got our quarter past, 20 past, 25 past, half past, 25 to, 22, quarter to, 10 to, and 5 to. Okay. So that's how the clock is. So the minute hand, if it points to any of these numbers, that is what it represents. So for example, at the moment it's pointed to the 3, so it's quarter past the hour. If it was pointing over here to the 8, it would be 20 to the hour. Okay? So that is what the minute hand represents. Now our hour hand tells us which hour it is either to or past. So at the moment, it is the blue hand, the hour hand, is between the 1 and the 2. But we know that our minute hand is going past the hour. So we look and it's just gone past the 1. Okay? So it's quarter past 1. If our red hand, as I said, was over here, 8, and the hand was still there, it would be 22 2. Okay? So depending on if it's past or to, if it's past, you look at the number this side. And if it's 2, you look at the number this side. Okay? Okay, guys, so I'd like you to have a little go at the question on the screen. So you can think of it in your head or you can jot it down, whatever you'd like to do. But which of the times match the time shown on the analog clock? So you've got 10 minutes to 4, 5 minutes past 10, or 10 minutes to 1. When you think you know, unpause me and come back, okay? Okay, hopefully you all agreed that the answer is 10 minutes to 1 because our minute hand is pointing to the 10 for 10 to, and our hour hand is between the 12 and the 1, so it's coming up to 1, so it's to the hour, so it's 10 minutes to 1, okay? Okay, another one for you guys. Which of the times match the time shown on the analog clock? Is it 25 minutes to 2, 25 minutes to 3, or quarter past 7? Okay, hopefully we all agree that it is 25 minutes to 3 because we have got our hand is past the half past, so we know it's to the hour. And our little hand is between the 2 and the 3, so it's coming up to 3, okay? So it's 25 to 3. Okay, guys, so Roman numerals are sometimes used on clock faces, okay? So I don't know what you remember from last year, so let's have a go. I'm going to put the numbers 1 to 12 on the board. Can you jot down any of the ones that you think you might know already? Then when you've done that, obviously pause me while you do that. unpause me, come back, and we'll have a look together, okay? And here they are. So you've got a single line for 1, 2 single lines for 2, 3 lines for 3. That's quite easy to remember, I hope. Your 5 is a V, and the 4 has got a 1 before it because it's 1 less than 5, and the 6 has got 1 after it because it's 1 more than 5. 7, 2 more than 5, so it's a V and 2 lines. 8 is a V and 3 lines. 10 is an X, and 9 is 1 less than 10, so it's an IX, and 11 is 1 more, so it's X1, and 12 is X2 because it's 2 more than 10. Okay, have a little look at those, see if you've remembered them. Try and keep them in your head because we're going to be using them in the next couple of slides. Okay, so this clock has got Roman numerals instead of numbers, and it should be showing us 7:15. So which of the Roman numerals should the minute hand be pointing to? Should it be pointing to the I, the 2 I's, or the 3 I's? If it's 7:15. So obviously the hour hand will be coming past the 7, but where should the minute hand be pointing to? Have a think, come back when you're ready. Okay, hopefully we all agreed that it should be this one, the number 3, because if it's 1/4 the hour, it goes 5, 5, 10, and then 1/4 past. So it should be there. All right, guys, well done if you got that one. Okay, this clock should show 6 o'clock. What Roman numeral should the hour hand be pointing to? So when it's o'clock, the minute hand points to 12, so to the top. But where should the hour hand be pointing to for 6 o'clock? Have a think and come back when you're ready. Hopefully we all agreed it should be this one here, the number 6. Oh, the dodgy arrow. So it would look something like, well, that would be smaller, but this. So 6 o'clock. Okay, guys? Okay, guys, I've got 4 clocks on the screen for you. Some have got numbers, some have got Roman numerals. Your job is to order the times from earliest to latest, okay? So you need to decide what the time is on the clock and which is the earliest and which is the latest, all right? So what I'd like you to do, pause me, maybe just number the clocks 1 to 4 or A to D, and jot them down in your notebook, and then come back to me when you're ready for me to go through the answers. Okay, so hopefully we got that this clock here is showing 25 past 10 because the minute hand is past the 12, so we know it's going past the hour. It's past 10 here and it's on the 5, so it's got to be 25 past 10. And then this one here, it's past the hour again. It's going past 11 this time and it's on the 4, so it must be 20 past 11. This one is going to the hour and it seems to be on the 11 there, so it's 5 to an hour and it's coming up to the 8, I think, yeah. So it would be 7:55. All right, guys. And this one is past the hour again. It's on the 5, so it would be 25 past, and it's going past 8, so it's 8:25. So the order you should have had them in is, 5 minutes to 7, 25 minutes past 8, 25 minutes past 10, and 20 minutes past 11. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, guys, well done if you got that one. That was a bit tricky. Okay, so today for your do it, the first part you need to tell me what time is shown on the clocks. So you can write these using words, so something to something or something past something. You don't need to write it digitally or anything like that. I just want you to tell me the time. And then for the second part, if you've got a clock at home that maybe you could borrow just for this, just to sort of move the hands around, great. If not, you can draw it in your books. That would be great. But I'd like you to show me the following times: 20 to 3, 6:30, and 25 to 9. Any problems with how to do that? then just let me know. If you can only do the first part, that's fine. I understand it can be complicated drawing things or borrowing things at this time, so don't panic if you can't do it, all right? I've set another extra do it challenge just in case you do that really quickly and you want a little extra push. So you've got to find the odd one out. So we've got 20 minutes to 8, quarter to 8, quarter to 9, and 20 minutes past 8. So look at the clock faces you've got. Are any of those shown? Is the one that's left out? All right, good luck. Then finally for today, you'll secure it. So there is a clock there. Dora thinks the clock shows 10 minutes to 3, but Amia thinks our hand is not quite pointing to the 3, so it must be 10 to 2. Who do you agree with? Explain your thinking. Okay, guys, best of luck with your do it and secure it today. Any problems, just send me an email. I'm more than happy to go through it with you, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Okay, we'll go through the answers then. Bye.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your writing session for today. We're getting started on our stories today, so I'm super excited to share all those with you. What we are going to do today is start off with our sentence spotter. Like always, remembering this week we're focusing on parts of speech, and we're trying to find those nouns, those verbs, those adjectives, and those adverbs. Nouns are our names, our things, our people, our places. Verbs being what happens in the sentence, the action that's happening. Let's have a quick look at what our sentences are today. So I've got 2 sentences for you today. They're a little bit longer and they might have more than one noun, adjective, verb or adverb in each of those sentences. So the first sentence is quickly the big dog chased the screeching cats all over the garden. And our second sentence today is the studious girl completed her homework carefully at the kitchen table. So what you need to do is copy those sentences out, label the nouns, the adjectives, the verbs and the adverbs, and then come back to me when you're ready for the answers. So pause the video now and have a go at those. Okay, ready for the answers? Let's go. So we've got lots and lots of nouns, adjectives, verbs and adverbs in these sentences. So let's have a little look. Quickly, the big dog chased the screeching cats all over the garden. Let's start with nouns. So we've got a dog, cat and garden in this first sentence, okay? So what were these nouns doing? What's the action that was happening? Well, the dog is chasing, so our verb there is chased, and the cats are screeching, so our verb there is screeching, okay? We're going to describe our nouns. So we've got a big dog. We could also say with screeching cats could also be classed as an adjective as well, so you could have used either one for those. And how are they doing it all? We're doing it quickly, so that's our adverb in this sentence, okay? And the second sentence here, the studious girl completed her homework carefully at the kitchen table. We've got the noun being girl, we've got the noun being homework, and we've got the noun being table, but it's a special type of table, it's the kitchen table. So hopefully you've managed to actually spot that there are 4 words in this sentence that are nouns, okay? So what are the nouns doing? Well, the girl is completing her homework, so our verb is completed. How did she do it? Well, she did it carefully, so that's our adverb today. And describing the girl is studious, so she's really studies hard. So the studious girl, so studious is our adjective for that sentence as well. Hope you managed to get those. If you didn't, remember to pause the video, have a little look at the answers and try and work out perhaps where you went wrong if you did so, okay? On to our writing then for today. I'm so excited about this because today we're going to be writing our adventure stories. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to have a little look at the opening of Fantastic Mr. Fox, and what I want you to do is have a think while I'm reading it. What's the purpose of a story opening? What's its job within a story? What do we want it to do? What's the purpose of a story opening? Okay, so this is the one from Fantastic Mr. Fox. Have a little think while you're listening. Down in the valley, there were 3 farms. The owner of these farms had done well. They were rich men. They were also nasty men. All 3 of them were about as nasty and mean as any men you could meet. Their names were Farmer Boggis, Farmer Bunce, and Farmer Bean. So what do you think the purpose of that story opening is? Okay, you're absolutely right. I'm sure you all got it. It's to enthrall or to engage our reader. So we want them to really want to read the rest of our story, to get excited about it and to really continue. So how does he do it in this section, okay? So what I want you to do now is have a little think. We're going to pause the video now and have a little look at the story opening and think for yourselves, what techniques, what tricks does the author use to enthrall, to engage those readers, okay? To make them want to carry on reading. So pause the video, have a little think, and then we'll go through them. Okay, so let's have a think. Have you spotted any of these? So first of all, it starts with a preposition. It shows us exactly where the story is happening. So down in the valley, okay? So it puts it in a place. So we can immediately start to see that valley in our heads, and we can start to see there's 3 farms in a big dip in a hill, okay? So we know exactly where it is. So it starts with that description, which uses a preposition, okay? What we've also got is a description of the villains, okay? So we learn about our villains in our story. They were rich men. They were nasty men, okay? Suddenly I'm interested. If they were rich men, yeah, that's okay. They're nasty men. I'm a little bit more interested now. I might want to carry on working. Another thing that they do in this part of the text is that they repeat it. So just to make sure that we're super clear that they're the villains, they repeat that they were nasty men. And then he says they were nasty and as mean as any men you could ever meet. Okay, we then also get the names of our villains. Okay, so we've got Farmer Boggist, Farmer Bunce, and Farmer Bean. And this story is all about the villains in our story, the nasty people in our story, before we meet our hero. So that's how the author hooks you in, because they think if these are the really nasty characters, there's got to be somebody good in there as well. Okay, so when we're writing our own adventure stories and we're starting to think about our own introductions, our own story openings, this is something we might want to have a look at. So here are some other Roald Dahl story openings, okay? So I'm going to read them through with you. I want you to, 1, have a little think. Can you guess which Roald Dahl story they're from? It's a little bit of an extra quiz. But more important than that, which one would you pick up and want to carry on reading? Which one's most enthralling to you? And why is it most enthralling to you? Okay? So, the first one, the green one. I'm going shopping in the village, George's mother said to George on Saturday morning. So be a good boy and don't get up to mischief. Is that enthralling? How does it enthrall you? What does it do? Okay, let's have a look at the red one. What a lot of hairy-faced men there are around nowadays. When a man grows hair all over his face, it is impossible to tell what he really looks like. Perhaps that's why he does it. He'd rather you didn't know. How does that one enthrall you? Okay, let's look at the purple one. Until he was 4 years old, James Henry Trotter had a happy life. He lived peacefully with his mother and father in a beautiful house beside the sea. There were always plenty of other children for him to play with, and there was a sandy beach for him to run about on and paddle the ocean, and the ocean to paddle in. It was the perfect life for a small boy. How does that enthrall you? Okay, and finally the orange one. Occasionally, one comes across parents who show no interest at all in their children, and these, of course, are far worse than the doting sort. Mr. and Mrs. Wormwood were 2 such parents. They had a son called Michael and a daughter called Matilda, and the parents looked upon Matilda in particular as nothing more than a scab. A scab is something you have to put up with until the time it comes when you can pick it off and flick it away. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to pause the video. Think about your favourite and why it is you like it. Why you think that's a really good story opening, and then we're going to come back together. Okay, brilliant. So, this was my favourite, the purple one in the middle. This, if you wanted to know, was from the start of James and the Giant Peach. And what I really, really like about this, and what enthralls me, what excites me as a reader, is that the author, Roald Dahl, has tried to make it sound absolutely perfect. It was the perfect life for a small boy. So you know, if everything's perfect and everything's happy, something's going to happen. Because it'd be a really boring story if everything was perfect all the time. Okay? If you looked at this one, for George's Marvellous Medicine, you might have gone and said, this bit's the enthralling bit, perhaps. Don't get up to mischief. We immediately know, as a reader, what's he going to do? He's going to get up to mischief. Okay, you might have had a look at this one. Again, he's left us with a bit of suspense for the twits opening. He'd rather you didn't know. Why doesn't he want us to know what he really looks like? That gets us intrigued, that gets us excited, it gets us engaged and enthralled, and we want to continue, okay? Perhaps if you picked this one, which was the start of Matilda, you perhaps start feeling really sorry for Matilda. A scab is something you have to put up with until the time it comes when you can pick it off and flick it away. And because you're feeling sorry for that character already, you might want to continue reading it. But you can choose any of those that are most enthralling to you. But have a little think about what Roald Dahl did to make it enthralling and exciting and engaging for you, and see if we can add that into our stories when it comes to it today. So today, we are going to be writing the start of our adventure story. So just that first paragraph. So if you've got your plan from yesterday, I've got mine here, ready for me to do the writing with it. You'll remember that in that first part of the story, we're going to meet our characters, we're going to meet our hero, we're going to meet our villain, and we are going to find out what the problem is. So my hero is this bird, a lark, who's brave and fearless. My villain is Mrs. Bates, who is the farmer's wife, and she's constantly grumbling. And the problem is that he keeps stealing the corn and the berries from the berry bushes. Okay, get that out of the way. So I had a little go last night at writing my story, and I want you to think about how I've done it, and does it tell me about my hero, my villain, and my problem. Okay? So, Mr. Lark was a fearless bird. He was the envy of all in his tree, and every day he would bravely swoop down from his home high in the branches of the elm tree on Boggis's farm and scavenge for food. Every day he brought home more food than his family ever needed. Every day they feasted on corn, berries, and nuts. The Lark family lived like kings, and everything was just perfect. That's that bit from James and the Giant Peach that I really liked, that I wanted to bring across. That's why I've popped that in. That is, until the Boggises left the farm and a new family moved in. The Bateses were grumpy, and worse than that, they were mean and ferociously unkind to each other and to their pets. Mrs. Bates, the farmer's wife, was the meanest one of all. If someone even put a toe out of line, Mrs. Bates would whip them with a slipper until they cried. Okay? So I've introduced my hero, I've introduced my villain. So the next part that I would go on to if I was carrying on with my story would be to introduce my problem, okay? So the first time that our hero and our villain meet together, okay? So what I'd like you to do today is you are going to be writing your own start of the story, and you are going to be using your characters that you decided on from yesterday. And there are two different ways that you can do this, okay? So if you want something a little bit easier today, you can write 3 sentences. You can introduce the hero, introduce the villain, and introduce the problem. So Mr. Fox was, or Mr. Rabbit, or Peter Rabbit, or whoever your character is. The farmers, or Mr. McGregor was, and then whoever your villain is. And now the problem was that, and tell me about the problem. Or, if you want something a little bit more challenging, you could write 3 short paragraphs, which is what I was starting to do on the previous slide. So I had a paragraph introducing my hero first, then I introduced my villain, and then I'm going to introduce the problem. So you could use some paragraphs to help you to do that. And whilst you're writing those things, what you could do is, for extra bit of challenge, use those tips, those hints, those tricks, those things that we found out when we were looking at all the different openings to really, really enthrall and engage your reader, remembering that they need to want to carry on reading the rest of your story, okay? So you're going to have your time now to write your start of your story, whether that's 3 sentences for challenge number 1, or whether it's 3 paragraphs for challenge number 2. We're going to try and pop in some hints and some tricks from our authors as well. So have a brilliant time. Just write that first section. Tomorrow we're going to be writing the next sections of those stories as we move through, and I'll help you with each of those as we go to it. So it's just the first section. Have a little go and then come back to me once you've finished writing. So pause the video now and have a little go at your writing. Fantastic. I hope that you've really, really enjoyed writing part of your adventure story this morning. I know that your teachers are really super excited to read them, so if you want to share them at this point, then you're more than welcome to. If you want to share it at the end when you finish writing the whole story, then that's fine as well. Or if you want to share you reading your story as well, that would be great. But we always like to think about looking back at our stories and thinking about whether they're doing what they want them to do. So if you remember, we wanted to enthrall our reader. We wanted to get them to want to read on. So have a read of your story opening. Maybe read it to somebody at home. Do they want to find out what happens next? Are they interested in your story? Can you spot any of the author tricks that you've included to enthrall them in your writing? And did they work, and how do you know? So kind of test it out on your audience a little bit before you start writing the next part of your story tomorrow. Okay? Then having a look at our CC for today, our connected curriculum, remembering that we're working on the water cycle this week. So there is an essential activity for you to have a little look at. That one's about a little video clip about finding out about the water cycle, just so you learn some new information. If you're excited about that and you want to do some activities linked to that, you could conduct the science experiment. You could make a model poster about the water cycle. You've got this creative writing opportunity about being a water droplet and travelling around the water cycle. Or you could create your own video to show other people what happens in the water cycle. But remember, the information for all of those is in your learning pack, which is on the school website. So if you are going to have a little go at any of those, which is absolutely super if you want to, then go onto that and have a little look before you get started. Thank you ever so much for listening today. I hope that you've enjoyed the activities and all of the things. Remember to pick and choose the bits that you can do and the bits that you want to do to keep your minds and brains active. And don't worry if you can't complete them all. It's absolutely fine. We'll be back tomorrow with more learning opportunities for you. Have a fantastic day and we'll see you soon. Bye.